I'm Farah here from Cooking Good, and you are
Donna from Cooking Good.
And today we're going to show you a couple of recipes around a hidden veg sauce and the things that you can do with that. So let's get started. So I'm going to start off by showing you my veg. So I've already pre-chopped this just to save some time. I've got some onions, some carrots, I have some courgettes and some celery. And for added colour, I have some fresh sliced peppers and I have some frozen peppers as well. So it's up to you. You don't have to use both, or you don't have to use any of those. And you can use anything you like, can't you, Donna?
Yeah, I tend to use up what veg I've got in the fridge that I know that I'm not going to use over the next couple of days. Just chop it finely and in it goes.
Lovely, thank you. And we've also got some tinned tomatoes. You can use fresh tomatoes. And I've got some passata and some tomato puree. So I'm going to get this started. So I'm going to heat my pan up and I'm going to add a glug of olive oil. So I'm just going to let that heat up, and then I'm going to throw all these onions in. Do we need some of those? Ideally, you want your pan to be nice and hot. I'm going to make a double batch here. And what I'm going to do then, I'm going to show you how to chop up some garlic. So I've got a whole garlic here. I've just pulled it away from the actual bit at the bottom, so it's easy enough just to pull away. I'm going to just show you how to quickly peel it while my onions heat up. So I've got my knife, got the flat point, and I'm just going to press it down, she says. And there we are. So it sort of half crushes it, and it should peel off quite nicely. So I'm going to do that with a few.
I'll just give this a stir while it's warming up.
It's not very warm. I might put it on. Is that getting hot, Donna? Yeah, it's quite slow, this little cooker. I'm just going to peel some garlic. And I found some mushrooms as well, so I'm going to just show you how to peel those as well. Oh, we've washed them, haven't we?
Peeled some and washed, and then they're ready.
Lovely. So I'm going to chop up some garlic, and I'm going to use quite a bit of garlic, and I'm going to use some, where's my spices, my herbs. I'm going to use some mixed herbs as well. So these, I'm just going to chop my garlic up fairly roughly. I'm going to use all of this because I like garlic. It has lots of flavour. So that was 6 cloves in total. The smaller you chop it, the more flavour you get from these.
Don't be scared of garlic. As you cook it for longer, it becomes a totally different flavour, much sort of milder and sweeter. And once it's in with the onions and the rest of the ingredients, you won't be overpowered with garlic, especially if you're doing a double batch like we are today.
Yeah, it's always good to know that actually. So got my mushrooms, and again, everything's just going to be chopped roughly to go into this sauce, because once we've cooked this sauce, it's just going to get blended down. So I'm not going to be too fussy.
We call it hidden vegetable sauce because for the fussy eaters in the family, you literally can put all sorts of vegetables in and they don't know they're there. It's just like having one of those pasta sauces that you buy in a jar, and makes a good basis for lots of the recipes that we make.
Yeah, and it's good because it goes in the freezer, so you can batch cook it like we're doing today. It can be cut in, separated out into little containers, and it freezes really well. Yeah, and it can be used for everything, pretty much, you'll be able to see. So my onions are sizzling away nicely, so what I'm going to do now is just add my other veg in there, and I'm going to sweat that off, or mix that in. So I've got my carrots are going in. As you can see, they're fairly small. I'm going to chuck all those in actually. I've got about 1.5 courgettes in here, that's going in too. What else? I've got some celery, that's going to go in too.
If there's any vegetables that you don't like, just miss them out or replace them with something else. But celery, lots of people think they don't like, but it gives a nice savoury note to sauces.
There we are, lovely. Yes, it's not one of my favourite fish, I must admit, but yeah, it's in there. And I'm just going to let that sweat down for a couple of minutes. You can still hear that sizzling, which is great. Keep on stirring it every now and then, but remember that the veg won't burn because there's quite a lot of liquid in the veg. So let's just wait for that. This veg sauce is actually pretty quick. Once you've got all your veg chopped and you throw it in the pan, you've got everything in there. It takes about 20 minutes to cook. So yeah, it's not a very, it doesn't take a huge amount of time. So I've got mixed herbs that I'm going to put in there. I'm going to put a good few in there and some pepper. I'm going to avoid the salt for now. I think if we add herbs and pepper and all that lovely veg, it should give us enough flavour. You can also use a veg stock, can't you?
Yeah, you can crumble a veg stock cube in, or if you know that everybody in your house is a meat eater and you've only got chicken or beef stock cubes, you can do that to, you know, just give it a richer flavour.
We've got to remember that some of the stock cubes have a huge amount of salt in them, don't they, as well? So if you're adding a stock cube, then definitely not to put any salt in your meal.
Without salt, you can always taste it at the end and add a bit more puree.
Exactly, that's exactly it, isn't it? And also some of the dishes we're going to do, they're going to have things like cheese as well, aren't they? We've got salted cheese, so yeah, we just need to be careful of too much salt. So I'm going to sweat this down for a good 5 or 10 minutes, I think about more closer to 10 minutes. So that's been sweating for about 10 minutes. I'm going to chuck in my mushrooms. Give them a little stir in and give them a couple of minutes as well. So once they've cooked for a couple of minutes, I'm just going to add in, so I'm adding 2 tins of tomatoes into this. I'm going to add my tomatoes. I'm going to add in a whole jar of passata. Yeah, why not? It's open. Again, once you've opened a passata, and if you don't want to use all of it, you can always freeze it. So another good one to freeze. I sometimes don't use a tin tomatoes, I'll just use an extra one of these. So it's up to you. I do like passata, it's a good one. And Donna likes a little squeeze of puree. Again, it's an optional, you don't have to use that. It just gives you that extra tomato. So that's about a tablespoon, roughly. Okay. You see, I'm not so good at measuring.
So it's a great ingredient to have in the cupboard or the fridge, the tomato puree. I turn a veg soup fairly quickly into a tomato soup for one of my sons who likes tomato soup best, and then he gets a veg soup without realising it.
Yes, it's handy to have in the cupboard or the fridge, isn't it? So there we are, we've got all our veg, oh, I've just got a splash. We've got all our veg in there. Yeah.
Got a few peppers in?
Yeah, oh, I've got those. I've got some, we'll have a few peppers and we'll chuck that, I'll let that come to the boil first before I add anything else. I'm going to add some water into that as well. So again, you can add stock cube, but I'm just going to add some water in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add some water in to top up the veg so it actually gets cooked. So I'm going to chuck in a few of the fresh herbs, just a little bit. And that's just to add some extra colour. We like eating the rainbow, don't we, Donna? And a few frozen veg as well, lovely. And in goes my garlic, my 10 tons of garlic.
There's some hot water.
Lovely, thank you very much. And this is, most of my flavour is this, so I'm going to add quite a bit of, so that was 2 fairly heaped teaspoons. I might add them on just for
we're a double bath, aren't we?
Yeah. And again, just give it a stir. We have some pepper.
I love black pepper.
Yeah, I quite like black pepper too. So again, about a teaspoon, a bit more for luck. I think I'm adding another. So I'm now adding 4. You can never go wrong with mixed herbs, can you?
I use a lot of herbs in my cooking. I love the flavour.
And they're really quite cheap to buy, aren't they? I mean, it's sort of, you know, things like rosemary and thyme. This one's mixed herbs, so I'd imagine it's got things like rosemary and thyme in it.
Yeah, maybe some sage.
Yeah. Maybe some basil.
Yeah, oregano.
Yeah. So dried herbs are more economical, aren't they, than the fresh herbs?
They are. I tend to buy them in bulk rather than the little jars because I use so many when I'm cooking.
And the same here, I'll buy them in a larger packet rather than a smaller packet. Yeah, well, I think I would prefer using dried herbs to salt. Okay, so then, now that's all mixed together, I'm going to add in, and I'm going to just show you, actually, I might pour a bit of water into my, that's what happens when you come from a, swish it around a little bit, and there we are, we're going to get all the little bit of lovely passata from the bottom of the container.
I always do that with all my tomato cans and things.
I do that with a can as well, look.
Quite a lot can get left behind.
Quite a lot, there was quite a lot in there. So again, what you want is to cover, so rinsing all this, just to cover the veg in water. so you've got something for the veg to cook in. A little drop more, and that's that done. So 20 minutes to cook on a medium heat. So bring it to the boil, turn the heat down in about 20 minutes. Lovely. Lovely, so here is my hidden veg sauce. It's been simmering for about 20 minutes with the lid on a medium heat. So what I'm going to do with it now is I have a little hand blender, and I'm going to take it off the heat actually. Ideally, we'd like it to cool down a little bit, so I'm just going to give it a little stir. So always be careful with your blender. So here we are, all that lovely veg. I always put my blender in first, otherwise it does splash. So I'm just going to open this up, and you can have it as thin or as chunky or as smooth as you like.
How's that coming along?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it a little bit chunky. These are great though. I mean, they're fairly sort of reasonable to buy, aren't they, the hand blenders?
Yes.
So I've left it fairly chunky. And yeah, so as it is now, again, you can make it smoother if you want to. I will make just boil some pasta and use it as a pasta sauce. So instead of using a jar pasta sauce, I'll use this. A bit of grated cheese and some pasta, a nice filling dish. You can also make it into several other dishes, can't you?
Yeah, I use it for so many things at home. If I want to make a quick soup, I'll probably just add some stock to a portion of that to make a nice quick tomato and vegetable soup. I use it in my bolognese and my chilli.
Exactly, or the lasagnas, instead of using the jarred tomato sauce.
Yeah.
You can use it for that. I use it as well, so if I'm making a curry, especially for tomato-based curry, I'll use a little bit of this as well, just to put it into the curry after I've added the spices. It can also be boiled down, can't it, to make it more concentrated, to add to a pizza as a margarita
reduce
sauce.
it down or add a bit more tomato puree, mix it with tomato puree to get the texture you like, and then just spread it on your pizza base.
Perfect.